Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to be here. As you mentioned, I've been getting my exercise in the barangay, doing trashercise. So I go around the barangay, and when I'm at the boulevard, I kind of people are staring at me. I'm picking up all the plastic and putting it in the trash, so it doesn't end up in the ocean. Yeah, so I suppose I'm going to talk a little bit today about why we need to detoxify. Because of course that's one of the many health benefits of Ionblack, fulvic and humic minerals, is they help our bodies detoxify. So I guess I want to start by asking you, before I tell you what I think, why do you think we need to detoxify?
Get rid of toxicity.
Too much toxins.
Okay. So yeah, we need to get rid of toxins in our body. There are too many toxins.
Yes. Toxins, visible and invisible.
Yeah, and some of them, a lot of them, are probably invisible to us.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, people could think like, oh, well, why do we need to do anything special? Our body evolved to detoxify. Our ancestors didn't do anything special. Why do we? Well, our ancestors didn't live in the toxic world that we live in today. I mean, there are now tens of thousands of synthetic.
Microphones.
You want me to swallow the microphone so they can hear me better? So yeah,
Can you
today
adjust it because you're tall? So
all right, let me raise it up over here. Let me try that.
like that?
Maybe that's enough.
yeah.
So there are now tens of thousands of synthetic chemicals in all of our products.
Yeah.
Our food, the way our food is grown, our personal care products, all the plastics, and so you could, for example, go through your own day. And you could say, I wake up in the morning and maybe I have some baked goods. Well, the baked goods are grown, probably the wheat was grown in Australia or the US with synthetic pesticides, and there are residues of those synthetic pesticides, like one that y'all have heard of, probably one of the most widely used pesticides in the world, certainly in the US. You ever heard of glyphosate?
Yeah.
Yeah, glyphosate. Yeah. So I mean, that they use millions of pounds of it in the U.S. every year on wheat, oat, corn, soy, all 95% of the crops that are grown in the U.S. They use this glyphosate.
Same thing here.
And certainly they probably use it here. They certainly are using it in Australia. So yeah, you start your day with a dose of glyphosate. That's something our bodies didn't evolve to detoxify. There was no such thing as glyphosate until approximately 50 years ago. So we didn't evolve to be able to detoxify these things. Then maybe you have some coffee. The coffee was probably grown with some pesticides.
Filipinos likes to drink coffee.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning.
And then maybe you notice the neighbors burning some trash, and where I live, they burn plastic in their trash. It's highly, highly toxic when you burn plastic. Okay, burn some leaves, burn some, but when I see them burning plastic, that's part of the reason they see me pulling plastic out of their burn pile, and they're like, "What's this crazy foreigner doing?" Well, I don't want you burning that stuff because it's really toxic. So, and then and maybe you're drinking, or maybe your coffee came out of a plastic container. Okay, so now you're getting some plastic micro particles, and that stuff is now, we're in a plastic crisis in the world. The synthetic shirt I'm wearing is synthetic. This is part of the synthetic microfibers. They're now getting into our food supply, and they're turning into nanoparticles. You know what a nanoparticle is? What's a nanoparticle?
Tiny, small things that we
Yeah.
we can hardly see.
Yeah, like microscopic and so small that you can't. It's in the ocean, but we can't even see it. All the plastic that we see in the ocean, it slowly breaks down into these nanoparticles, and then the fish we eat The
Yeah.
mussels we eat,
Yeah.
everything we eat is getting into our food supply. And by the way, I'm going to start with the bad news, but we're going to end with the good news. So don't worry. We're not going to end on the bad news. But now we're in the bad news part. So all this, this is more toxins that we're ingesting, and these nanoparticles of things like plastics, we're not even really sure what they're doing to our bodies now.
Yeah.
They're getting to our brain, they're getting to our organs.
Oh.
They say that now the average human today is eating approximately a credit card worth of plastic a week. We're ingesting it. Now, some of that your body can get rid of, luckily, but the nanoparticles, all of it, we don't really even know. So of course, it starts with preventing the plastic from getting into the environment. And even for me, I'm wearing out my synthetic clothing, and Mona loaned me this shirt, gave me this shirt. But I'm wearing out my synthetic clothing, and all I'm buying now is cotton and hemp and linen, natural fiber clothing. I'm committed. In my case, it's organic, so it's grown with no synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. That's my commitment.
Excuse me, was that cotton and what?
Cotton and hemp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hemp is fantastic in this climate, by the way. It never smells.
Oh.
It's very durable. It breathes really well. It's fantastic for this climate. By the way,
So
if
you
you-
can wear
even
it
if
for
you
a week
sweat
and
out?
it don't smell.
literally, I have some hemp clothing, and it never smells like my cotton or synthetic clothing.
All right.
Yeah, it's a remarkable fiber, and it's what they made clothing out of for hundreds of years before we came up with cotton and eventually synthetic fibers. But so you could go on through your day, and then maybe you're going to drive somewhere. Okay, now you're breathing all this exhaust from all the cars, all the motorcycles and cars. Well, there's more toxins we're ingesting.
Yeah.
And okay, I got to stop and get gas. Well, the benzene, when I'm filling my gas tank, I'm breathing this benzene. That's a known carcinogen, a known cancer-causing chemical, along with others that are.
My goodness.
So you start to see, and then you say, okay, well, maybe I'm going to have some lunch and get some more, synthetic pesticides in my food supply. Maybe maybe I put on some fragrance because it's on. I'm getting sweaty. I need some fragrance. Oh, there now in all of our personal care products, many of our personal care products, they have synthetic fragrances.
Yeah.
And they have synthetic chemicals of various kinds. If you look at the labels of what you're putting on your skin or in your body or brushing your teeth with, or even fluoride is another one. Most toothpaste has fluoride. Well, fluoride is a neurotoxin. So I shared with Mona, hey, get fluoride-free toothpaste. We just got some yesterday. Now she gets only fluoride-free toothpaste because fluoride concentrates in the pineal gland in your brain, and it's basically it's an industrial waste product. That's what fluoride is. So you should always get fluoride-free. Look for fluoride-free toothpaste. There's more toxins.
Fluoride. So, sorry, like mga Colgate na to, di ba? Colgate na to usually mga brands.
With fluoride man na.
Yung mga makita to usually sa mga shelves sa kaya food. So, di na gyutan na. May mga, naa sa Watson, dumagiti kita may mga charcoal na asad sa Robinson to mga Sai White nga brand.
Oh, na with that charcoal
Oo, pero
toothpaste.
usually mga toothpaste na to, Colgate o katong mga close up, mga fluoride dyan na sila.
All the name brands have fluoride. You gotta look for one that says no fluoride.
Toxic.
So charcoal, pwede asin na.
So
Yeah, long time ago. Asin ba yun?
Salt.
no, you need fluoride-free toothpaste. That's what you need. Yeah, and then again, the synthetic fragrances. You ever heard of these xenoestrogens? Does that mean anything to anybody?
No.
So a lot of these chemicals that are in everyday products, especially personal care products, lotions, hair care, shampoo, conditioner, shaving cream. Look at the label
Ingredients.
sometimes. You can't even pronounce half of the ingredients.
Yeah.
It's obvious that it's a synthetic chemical, and you got to start thinking, do I really want to put that on my skin? Because it gets absorbed into our skin.
Yeah.
These are more things we need to detoxify from our bodies.
Yeah.
And these xenoestrogens, the reason they call them, many of these chemical compounds, they mimic estrogen in the body. And that's part of what's contributing to diabetes. You know what I mean by diabetes? This is the global health epidemic, and it's most pronounced in the U.S., by the way. Now, so right now, about 2/3 of Americans are overweight or obese. And it wasn't that way 35, 40 years ago. This is a new thing. And these xenoestrogens, and it's becoming a global phenomenon. The xenoestrogens are a contributing factor, along with, well, let's get to that in a second. Because they mimic estrogen in the body, and they tell your body to put on fat, they tell your body to slow down your metabolism. They screw up our hormones. They cause all kinds of problems, cancer, thyroid issues. So these are other things that we need to try to avoid by having the most natural personal care products that we can. So you try, number one, try to minimize these things in our bodies and on our bodies. But number two, we want to cleanse these estrogens from our body, along with all these other toxins. And by the way, the tens of thousands of chemicals, synthetic meaning they're made in a lab, usually of petroleum. And these are novel meaning they're new. There was no such thing when my mother, who's going to be 100 years old next year, there was no such thing as that when she was growing up. These synthetic chemicals were all post-World War II. There was no such thing before. So she luckily grew up, when she was young, there was no such thing there was only organic, whole foods. There were no junk foods, and there were no synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. Same with your grandparents. So luckily, those of us old enough, at least we had the benefit of healthy food when we were young. So, the other thing that's contributing to the global health crisis, the diabetes, meaning diabetes and obesity, it's a global crisis, especially in the United States, is the vegetable and seed oils. That's another contributing factor, by the way. So you want to really strictly limit vegetable and seed oils. Canola oil, peanut oil, safflower oil, all those vegetable and seed oils, they're toxic. And we did not evolve eating them. Those are all the polyunsaturated fatty acids, the polyunsaturated fats that you might have been told, canola oil, you might have been told that's healthy. No. You want coconut oil only. Coconut oil, butter, ghee, maybe beef tallow, beef fat.
Yeah.
Those are the fats that you want, the traditional fats. These vegetable and seed oils, we simply did not evolve eating them. They were not available, and they're toxic. They're not only toxic because they screw up our metabolism, they gum up the cell walls and all the cells in our body, but also because they're highly refined and processed. They're industrial oils. So they're refined at a very high temperature using chemicals. It's a very industrial product, these vegetable and seed oils. So, you say, well, it's cheap. Well, don't fry your bananas in cheap oil. Your health is more important than that. Use coconut oil.
Yes.
Yeah. The traditional oil that your ancestors had. Hey. And by the way, you could say, what about lard from pigs? Well, that could be good, but it depends on what they feed the pigs. The problem now is they're feeding all of our farm animals the grains, and those grains, guess what? That means the pig is full. The chickens and the pigs now have too much of these polyunsaturated fatty acids, polyunsaturated fats, because they're feeding them grains. They're feeding them, in the U.S., it's corn and soy. So that's why you need to minimize those too. But the cow, no matter what you feed, ideally you want, most of the beef around here is grass-fed, by the way. You're lucky. Yeah. So anything you buy here is most likely going to be grass-fed. But most of the beef in the U.S. is grain-fed, which is not a natural diet for a cow. But at least the cow, because it's a ruminant, it has 2 digestion chambers, it can convert those polyunsaturated fatty acids from the grains into saturated fat. So at least if you're going to use something other than butter or ghee or coconut oil, you could use beef fat, beef tallow. That's a good fat also. So, what other kinds of toxins are we being exposed to?
What we wash our clothes in. You wear it all day, you sleep in it all night. All your bed sheets and everything is washed with chemicals.
Right.
Your body absorbs that like crazy. And then when you go take a shower or something, you use some of the nastiest soaps there are out there, chemicals.
And it gets absorbed right through your skin. Yeah. Yeah, and like Mona's son Monray, he loves his what we would call in the U.S. we would call it cologne for men, but he calls it perfume. But and every time we put that stuff on, I'm like, I can smell it. Oh, it's synthetic fragrance. He likes it. I did too when I was his age. But I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe use essential oils. Don't use that synthetic stuff. Yeah. If you want to smell nice, use essential oils. So again, it's like as much as possible. That's the name of the game. Is you really want to minimize your exposure. Start thinking about. Am I storing my beverage in glass or plastic? Are my food containers glass or plastic? Is my water bottle stainless steel? Is it glass or is it plastic? You really want to minimize your exposure to plastics because not only are you getting those flumism means a volatile organic compound is kind of a polite way of saying toxic emissions. It's toxic air coming out of your car from all the plastic stuff that's in your car.
And then we usually say, it really smells good.
Yeah, it's the new car smell.
New
Yeah.
car,
Yeah, except that it's really carcinogenic, and even like these air fresheners that some people put in their house or in their car, that's totally carcinogenic, toxic garbage. So it's everywhere. I mean, these toxins are everywhere.
Yeah.
And another thing to think about, most of the literally tens of thousands, and they're inventing new ones every day. The pesticides, the fertilizers, all the chemicals, they've barely tested any of them by themselves, let alone, no one is really looking at the synergistic effect, the compounding effects of all of these things on our bodies, right? So even if you could study one of these, and they have not, guaranteed. I know they have not studied most of these chemicals thoroughly, but they certainly haven't studied the effect of all of these assaulting our body synergistically, or the compounding effects of 50 of these different compounds on our bodies. So, yeah, those are just some of the good reasons, and then you add in the electric and magnetic fields that we're all exposed to now from our cell phones, Wi-Fi. Those are further compromising our body's ability to detoxify. They're compromising our health. It's not to paint a picture of doom and gloom and we're all going to die. But as some of you remember from last year, those of you who I got to be with last year, remember what I told you, that for the first time in history, the life expectancy in the United States has been declining for the last few years. It's shocking. Detoxification. What are the major detoxification organs in the body? What are the mechanisms?
Kidney and liver.
So the colon, the kidney, the liver. Yeah, the skin, like we said. Yeah, I mean the sweating through the skin. Yeah, so I mean, if we were to say the master detoxification organ in the body is the liver. It starts in the colon. That's where that's a good place to prevent toxins from entering the body and to eliminate the toxins. But the liver really is the organ that we want to support. And they talk about that's Chinese medicine 101, right? Acupuncture, they talk a lot about the liver, which, the liver is kind of right here, right, in our body.
Yeah.
And so, there are herbs and things we can take to support the liver. And when they alcoholics, they often destroy their liver. They have, and then that's what kills them actually. And we can also have this fatty liver. Some of us might not even be that fat, but if we have a fatty liver, it's an unhealthy liver. It's not going to do its job. So supporting the liver, you can take herbs like there's one milk thistle. You heard of this milk thistle?
Excellent,
Yeah.
I don't know what's that. We have that here.
We look for that in Bisaya.
Okay.
We'll check.
That's a good one. That's a really good one for the
Write it
liver.
down, T. Brenda. Take note.
Yes.
And
Can we write it here? What's it spelling?
it's like milkfish, but milk, and then thistle, which is THISLE.
It's one.
Yeah. You can buy that in a supplement.
Yeah,
It's not expensive.
Bakahiya flower.
That's just
No. It's different.
that's just one example. I mean, there are other ways to support the liver. I mean, one that most people haven't heard of or might find interesting. Has anyone ever heard of coffee enema?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the coffee enema the enema is not to cleanse the colon, which is what you might usually think of an enema to cleanse the colon. The coffee enema primarily cleanses the liver. It's a fantastic way, and I highly recommend it for all of us because we all have congested livers. Anybody in this room has a congested liver. And so we can all use liver support.
You have recipe kind of.
You can look up protocols on the internet. At home, I do coffee enemas every week to support my liver. And one of the ways, there are different ways you can tell if you have congested liver. But sometimes if you see people with what you think of as like
melasma, hyperpigmentation.
when you see the pigmentation on
Dark
the skin,
spots.
dark spots on the skin.
Yeah.
That's one of the symptoms of a congested liver.
Dark spots.
So if you see that,
Yeah.
you might want to seriously consider some liver support, and you might notice the pigmentation dissipates when you support your liver.
Oh, you must do that.
Okay.
So
Is it just easy to do it?
But an
Or
organic coffee.
yeah,
Maybe we show the
Is
first
there a
time maybe it's
YouTube
where?
video?
yeah, I mean, there's a Dr. Wilson who is in Prescott, Arizona. He has a lot of information about these coffee enemas, and he has a protocol. I mean, I could tell you what I would do, but I don't think we want to spend 5 minutes talking about coffee enemas. I don't think that's what we're here for. So, if you want, you can ask me afterwards if you're curious. I
Yeah,
can tell you
ask you
exactly. I would
afterwards.
do this, and this. It's simple.
Okay.
And I remember the first time I ever heard about it, by the way, I thought, oh, you want me to do what? and then once I did my research and I realized, oh yeah, that's a fantastic way to support the most important detoxification organ in the body. I realized, okay, I'm going to try this. So, yeah, lots of reasons that we're just exposed to lots of toxins and toxins that our ancestors weren't exposed to. So that means, okay, our bodies can detoxify to some degree. That's the good news. But we're not living in the world that our ancestors evolved in. We need to support. We need extra support.
Yes.
Our natural detoxification isn't going to do it. Plus, most of us aren't getting out there and sweating as much as we should,
Yeah.
right?
No.
And most of you guys, most of you aren't getting out in the sun, which is really healthy for you, in my researched opinion. You guys are missing out on vitamin D and other things. But maybe you get enough because the sun is so strong there, you're just walking around, maybe you get enough vitamin D.
Yeah. 15 minutes.
That like that. Under that.
No, so a couple of people said, how come your foreigner boyfriend doesn't look white like all the other guys? Well, he's out in the sun. Yeah, they're all staring at me. I'm that foreigner that's out in the middle of the day in the sun for a little while, exercising, dripping in sweat. But yeah, getting all the toxins out. We're getting some vitamin D. But okay, so there again now, we need extra support.
Yeah.
And so, you can take milk thistle, you can do coffee enemas. There are other things you can do. And Ionblack is one of those things. It's not the only thing. Yeah, it's a very powerful one. Fulvic and humic minerals are very powerful. Now, I'll ask you all before I tell you what I think. How does Ionblack, how do fulvic and humic and minerals, which we'll call them three different things. Yeah. They kind of are three different things. Yeah. Sort of three of the main components of Ionblack: fulvic acid, humic acid, and then minerals.
Yeah.
All of which are missing. By the way, getting back to the way our food is grown, soil used to have fulvic, and good quality soil used to have fulvic and humic and minerals. Our food used to have these minerals. And good food had fulvic and humic. We would get it in our diet 200 years ago.
Yeah.
But now, most of the soils are depleted, and we're not growing most of our food. You're lucky there's some small organic farmers here. There's some small farmers here that are doing it the right way still, and nurturing the soil. But our soils are depleted. They're missing the minerals. They have some minerals, but they don't have the optimal amount or variety of minerals that we need for optimal health. And they don't have the fulvic and humic acid that good quality soil has. It's missing in our diet. That's why we supplement with something like Ionblack. And that's why I started taking fulvic and humic minerals maybe 10 or 12 years ago, long before I ever met Mona, long before I ever heard of Ionblack. I've been taking a different American brand that's a high quality fulvic and humic myself for at least a decade, which is when I learned about the benefits of fulvic and humic. And I realized, for me, I started taking it initially because I realized, I need more minerals. I need to supplement my body with minerals because I'm not getting them from my food. And I'm not getting them anywhere else. That was my initial reason for taking fulvic humic for the minerals. And then a couple years later, I was like, what is this fulvic and humic stuff? Wow, that has health benefits too. So getting back to my question, how does Ionblack help our bodies detoxify? And because you guys should know this.
You share your thoughts.
So hopefully, we're all going to learn at least one thing today. Maybe share one thing that we learned. Did anybody learn anything yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you guys need to know this. So if you can't, I'll pause for another minute and see if anybody has one way that Ionblack can help our bodies detoxify. Because I'll give you a hint. There's at least 4 distinct ways.
Because of the humic and fulvic binds, circulate, binds. Versus the humic itself, it helps in the removal, and then the fulvic, and then the minerals,
Okay.
and it clears the issues.
Yeah. You guys are all. Yep. All of that is right.
4 ways.
And we'll distinguish these a little further, but you're absolutely right.
The fourth one. So it's the holistic. Because we sweat.
Yeah, so again, it's not the only way we can detoxify, but it's a really good way to support, not only to get us the minerals that are missing in our food that we need,
Yes.
and those minerals, by the way, help our body's detoxification mechanisms. Without the minerals,
Yes.
without the optimal
Because that's the
amount and variety of minerals, our body's detoxification pathways aren't going to function optimally.
Yes. Yeah.
They're not going to. They might function okay, but they're not going to do their job completely. So that's one way is the minerals.
Yes.
Now, the other major way is what you were talking about, and what you were talking. We'll get to what you were talking about. You were saying something about it repairs the gut lining. So yeah, and this gets to another question and another thing hopefully we're going to learn today. When is Mona and I were talking about this on the way over here. What's the best time to take Ionblack? I mean, you can take it different times, but what's the best time maybe to take Ionblack?
I take it in the morning.
You take it in the morning?
Empty stomach in the morning.
Empty stomach in the morning? Okay. That's kind of what Mona was saying.
Drink as if drinking water.
So yeah, on an empty stomach is it's a right answer. You want to take it on an empty stomach, but the best time to take it is maybe a half hour before a meal. And the reason for that is then it's waiting to not only your gut junctions are tightened up, and what that means, and this gets into why it helps detoxify. What it does is it helps repair the gut lining, and that means the junctions are tight. Well, that means toxins aren't going to be able to get through your gut lining. They're not going to get into your body. That's one way Ionblack prevents toxins from entering your body. Furthermore, the fulvic and humic binds with toxins, so it's going to prevent them from getting through the gut lining. Now, if your gut lining, if you don't have Ionblack, or if you have permeable gut, which a lot of us do, depending on what we're eating and the nature of our health, the level of our health, then the toxins can get through. But if your gut lining is tight, it can't get through. And then, furthermore, the humic and fulvic is going to bind with toxins. It's an organic, it binds organically with these toxins, and then they just, get pooped out. So that's another way that fulvic and humic can prevent the toxins from entering your body.
Gut issue here, by the way, is common.
Yeah, so Ionblack, as many people have testified, testimonials, it's going to help heal the gut from. And what damages the gut? Again, it's these, it's all these toxins, but especially the glyphosate, the pesticides. Oh, and all these grapes and apples you guys love. Those things are doused with pesticides. There's yeah, I mean, the grapes and apples are some of the worst for pesticides in the U.S. and in Australia. So there's an environmental working group as a non-profit in the U.S. and every year they publish what they call the Dirty Dozen. It's the 12 foods, produce and fruit where they've tested it and they have the highest pesticide residues on these foods. And grapes and apples are at the top of the list every year. So unless you're getting organic, which is all I buy in the U.S., I get organic grapes and apples. I'm lucky I can get those. They don't have any pesticides because they're grown organically, meaning without pesticides. But just so you know, so you at least wash them well. If you're eating an apple or some grapes, you can't get rid of all of it, but at least wash it well. So the Ionblack is tightening up the gut. Those pesticides and in gluten from wheat, that's another thing that can damage the gut lining, by the way. Alcohol can damage the gut lining. There are lots of foods that can damage the gut lining and chemicals and that's why Ionblack can get in there, tighten it up, help repair it. And so can backing off, of trying to avoid all the pesticides and things, but that's hard to do.
By the way, you notice here, the bakeries are everywhere. And we Filipinos just like to eat bread, as many as we can eat.
Well, it's a good thing you eat so much rice, because otherwise you eat more wheat like we do in the U.S. So that's another way. A third way, we talked about the minerals that can support detoxification pathways in the body. They're necessary for detoxification. We talked about binding the toxins. We talked about strengthening the gut lining. And there's a fourth way. Let's see, did I memorize that fourth? Let me see, I have a little cheat sheet right here. Let me see. Because I'm not a fulvic humic expert, I kind of just looked this up. Of course. So another way that Ionblack or fulvic and humic minerals can benefit detoxification is Ionblack, fulvic and humic can boost your mitochondria. Now the mitochondria, do you know what the mitochondria are?
Yes.
What are the mitochondria?
The battery
Yeah,
of
the
our
energy.
cell.
The energy powerhouse in
Wing
every single
powerhouse.
cell in our body.
Wing.
And some organs in the body, like our heart, have a ton of them, have a lot of mitochondria. And that's kind of the latest, some of the latest thinking is the mitochondria are the keys to the kingdom. So they're the key to health. So if your mitochondria are humming, if they're thriving, you're gonna feel good, you're gonna have a lot of energy, and your detoxification pathways and systems in your body are gonna be able to do their job optimally. You're gonna be able to really do a great job at removing toxins from your cells. And, you know, by the way, another side note is, on one hand, the magic, part of the magic of Ionblack, or fulvic and humic minerals, they not only bind to toxins and get rid of them, and your body knows how to tell, your body knows to tell, oh, bind to that, because that's toxic, and get rid of it. And then it also binds to nutrients and shuttles them through the barrier. It lets them through. And it gets, and the fulvic and humic has the magical ability to get those nutrients into your cells through the cell wall. It shuttles them through.
Yeah.
You can look this stuff up. And that's part of why fulvic and humic is so powerful. It shuttles out toxins and it prevents them from coming into the body. And it supports your mitochondrial function so that your detoxification pathways are thriving and doing their job. And it simultaneously takes the nutrients that we need, not only supplies the minerals we need, but takes nutrients that are in our food, and it shuttles them into the cells in a way that your body might not be able to do without the fulvic and humic. So yeah, those are some of the ways, some of the reasons we want to detoxify, some of the ways you can start to think about minimizing your exposure to these toxins. You know, especially, like, I really want y'all to really think about eliminating vegetable and seed oil from your diet. And by the way, it's in all the refined, processed junk food. That's what they're going to use. Jollibee and any packaged food, guaranteed it's going to have vegetable and seed oil because it's cheap. And it's what all the big food manufacturers are using. Virtually all. So you really want to think about minimizing that stuff. Just use coconut oil, just use ghee, use butter, use beef tallow or beef fat like your grandparents did.
It's in the canned goods too.
Yeah. And by the way, olive oil is not healthy either. It's most olive oil, they adulterate it with cheap vegetable oil. And even if they don't, olive oil is mostly polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fat, which isn't really what you want. You want saturated fat. You really want just saturated fat to the extent that you're going to use fat to cook your fried bananas, your fried fish, or whatever. Get rid of, throw out the vegetable oil. So anyway, that's what I got. I don't know. Anything else? I mean, Mona, any?
Yeah, that's helpful, and
and sorry, we didn't finish on. So half hour before your meal is the best time because that prepares your gut for your food and all that. The second best time would be a couple hours after a meal. So like y'all said, on an empty stomach. There's no wrong time to take Ionblack, but those would be the best times.
It makes sense.
Very good.
Sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Now, maybe if they have some questions, they can do it after.
Great.
And even there's some that are curious about coffee enema, like how to perform that thing.
Yeah. I mean, especially anybody who knows they have a liver issue. Boy, a coffee enema is the trick. Well then, thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.